Hello, readers. Welcome back to Quarantine Literacy. We are in our final day of our author study. We have been reading Andrea Beattie's amazing books this week. That's our author, Andrea Beattie. And we have been talking about the character traits of some of her main characters, the themes or the lessons in her books, and kind of her writing style as an author. And we have made a pretty comprehensive list together. We just have one more book to read, and this is different from her other books. This is not a picture book. This is actually a chapter book. And this is Rosie, Revere and the Raucous Riveters. And it says it's in the Questionnaires series. Again, by Andrea Beattie, our author, and illustrated by David Roberts. So you can see that we have some familiar characters here. We've got Rosie Revere, we've got Ada Twist, and we've got Iggy Peck. So that's kind of cool. We're just going to read two chapters together. Rosie Revere and the Raucous Riveters. Chapter 1. Rosie Revere put on her safety goggles. "Are you ready?" she asked. "Ready," said Ada Twist. "Ready," said Iggy Peck. They signaled the thumbs up from behind the kitchen counter. "Here goes," said Rosie. She hit the big red button on the countometer. A scratchy computer voice blared from its speaker. "Countdown!" Oh wait, I think it's the computer voice. "Countdown! 5. Rosie ducked into her safety booth. 4. She flipped open her notebook. 3. She pulled her pencil from behind her ear. 2. Suddenly, Gizmo flew into the kitchen and landed on the contraption. "Duck!" yelled Rosie. Gizmo chirped angrily. "I know you're not a duck," yelled Rosie. 1. The 3 kids dived for Gizmo just as, boom, the contraption exploded. Splat, splop, slurp. Sticky red glops of ketchup flew everywhere. But Gizmo zoomed ahead of the storm. She soared up, up, up out of the way. She looped the loop and gently landed on the refrigerator. "Zowie," said Ada, wiping ketchup from her goggles. "Yikes," said Iggy, wiping ketchup from his sweater. Said Rosie, tapping her pencil on her notebook. Rosie looked at the mess and wrote a quick note. "Testing in kitchen equals bad idea." And look, that's the mess that happened when the ketchup exploded everywhere. Now we're on to chapter 2. Ada and Iggy had been helping Rosie all morning. She was trying to invent something for her uncle, Zookeeper Fred. Uncle Fred had a big snake problem. And a little snake problem, and a green snake problem, and Uncle Fred had an every kind of snake problem. Every kind of snake in the zoo loved him. They slithered out of the cages and into his office. They hid in his desk, in his pockets, even in his lunch. One day, a smooth green snake named Vern hid in his sandwich. Uncle Fred thought that Vern was a wiggly pickle and almost took a bite. After that, Uncle Fred called Rosie. She invented a contraption to scare away snakes. She called it the Snake Away. It failed. She tried again and again and again and again. Rosie invented 5 models. They all failed, but she did not give up. Uncle Fred needed her help. So if you remember in Rosie Revere, we talked about how perseverance is key and that failure is just part of learning, right? Making mistakes and having your models or your inventions fail is just part of learning how to make a better prototype, right? Rosie had hoped that the Snakeaway Model 5 would do the job. She looked at the mess. The fake snake on the table was covered in ketchup. It looked like a gigantic striped French fry with fangs. Uncle Fred would not like an invention that left ketchup all over his desk. He was a mustard kind of guy. And besides, it might attract ants and possibly French fries. And there's a picture of Uncle Fred, Zookeeper Fred, and all the snakes in his office. Holy moly, he looks like he really does attract a lot of snakes. Rosie added some notes about her testing. Model 1, fabulous flop. Model 2, magnificent mess. Model 3, creative catastrophe. Model 4, distinguished dud. Model 5, ketchup-y kerfuffle. The three friends cleaned up the mess. Then they shared peanut butter and honey sandwiches and talked about why the test failed. That's what good scientists do and good inventors do. They figure out and they determine why the test or the model didn't work. After lunch, Ada and Iggy went home and Rosie kept working. She looked at the contraption. A tube had exploded because a kink in the line blocked the ketchup. The pressure of the ketchup built up until boom! Aha, said Rosie. She jotted down ideas to fix the problem. Snakeaway Model 6 would work better. She was sure of it. Well, she was almost sure. There was only one way to find out. She would make changes to the machine and test again. Rosie was about to start when she heard a familiar whirring, purring, clanging, banging sound and looked out the window. It was Great Aunt Rose. Remember her from the book, the first book? Rose stuck her pencil behind her ear, crammed her notebook into her pocket, and ran outside as Aunt Rose landed in the Helio Cheese copter in the yard. So they must have gotten that Helio Cheese copter to work. You remember that one from the other book? Hey, hey, called Aunt Rose. How's my favorite engineer? Aunt Rose hopped out of the aircraft and twirled Rosie in a giant hug. My new invention is a disaster, said Rosie. Brilliant, said Aunt Rose. Tell me about it on the way. Are we going somewhere? Asked Rosie. You bet we are, said Aunt Rose. And there's no time to lose. This is an emergency. So we're going to end there, you guys. So if you want to know what happens next, see if you can get this book and read the next few chapters because it's a really fun book. So, oh my goodness, so many wonderful books from Andrea Beaty. I hope you've enjoyed them. I want to just talk about the last few things I added to the character trait column. I added that our characters are really thoughtful and that they're team players. And we really learned that in here in this book, that Rosie, Revere, Ada Twist, and Iggy were all working together as a team. So I added that to some character traits. I also added this theme that you should keep trying and learn from your mistakes. That's kind of a lesson or a theme that this book certainly has, and I think kind of all of her books have, that don't give up, right? Just learn from your mistakes and move on. And then we'd already filled this whole style column out. So I'll give you one last look at our amazing author study on Andrea Beaty and her incredible, inspiring books about brilliant young kids like yourself who are changing the world. Okay, my friends, I hope you enjoyed our author study, and I will see you next week for another amazing week of Read Alouds. Until then, bye.